These days, it's a fair bit closer to the first fence than it used to be, and as it was in 1993, when a series of cock-ups of monumental proportions led to the race being voided. After the first false start in Grand National history, there followed the second, during which Richard Dunwoody came close to being strangled by the tape after what seemed to be worn-out knicker elastic failed to spring up in time. Keith Brown called a false start, but most of the riders didn't realise and carried on, just as some carried on passing the stands after the first circuit when a bloke in a bowler hat waving a flag somehow proved not to be enough. As Escher Ness led the hapless remaining runners past the line, Peter O'Sullivan told BBC viewers the horse was winning the national that surely isn't. And it wasn't. It's not as fearsome as it once was, but it remains the most famous fence in the world of horse racing. It's named after Captain Martin Beecher, who came off his Mount Conrad and fell into the Brook in the first Grand National in 1839. In 1977, the course of racing history could have been changed had Andy Pandy not fallen when clear, leaving Red Rum to gallop to glory. Rhyme and Reason was as good as down here in 1988, but still went on to win. These days the drop has been reduced to between 10 inches on the inner and 6 on the outer. Beecher's, however, remains a sight to savour. Until 1967, this was known as the 7th and 23rd fence, the obstacle after Beecher's. Since then, it has been known as the Foinaven fence. The problem was the riderless Popham Down decided to veer right approaching the fence. What happened next became part of Grand National folklore, as did Michael O'Hare's BBC commentary, voiced here by son Tony.
And Rutherford has been hampered, and so has Castle Falls. Rondetta was fallen, Princeville has fallen, Norther has fallen, Kirtle Lad has fallen, the Fossa has fallen. There's a right pile-up. Leedy has climbed over the fence and left his jockey there. And now, with all this mayhem, Foinaven has gone off on his own. He's about 50, 100 yards in front of everything else.
Foinaven went on to win the Grand National and to become the only Grand National winner ever to have a Grand National fence named after him. Another completely unique fence. Horses and jockeys must complete a 90-degree turn after jumping the canal turn. If they don't, they'll take a dip in the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, which no Grand National winner has ever done. The most famous right angle in racing has seen plenty of thrills and spills, not least when the riderless Paddy's Return delivered a Foinaven moment of his own, veering across the fence and taking out 10 luckless members of the field. In the end, only 4 horses completed, just 2 without being remounted, one of them being the winner, Red Marauder. This is not the sort of tiny chair you find in little kiddie schools. It's a whopping grey armchair, the biggest fence on the course at 5 foot 2 inches with a gaping ditch to its front, making for an 11-foot spread. It's named after a chair that was situated next to the fence, on which a judge used to sit and do some judging. The chair is generally jumped surprisingly well, but in 1980, the previous year's winner, Rubstick, made an almighty mess of the fence, sending Morris Barnes crashing to the ground. Jockeys will tell you it's the easiest fence on the course, although it's also the wettest. Television directors love it as they get to shoot the runners jumping it from the inside with the grandstands behind. Very few horses depart the race here, although 4 did exit the water in 1968, including Foinaven, who was brought down. Given what happened 12 months earlier, he could hardly call himself unlucky. The water and chair aren't jumped second time round, so it all ends here with a 494-yard run-in that includes the most iconic elbow in sport. Here in 1956, Devon Lock was clear, with only a few yards to cover when doing the splits under Dick Francis and throwing away certain victory. In 2012, Neptune Collage and Sunny Hill Boy gave us a first Grand National photo finish for years. Most famously of all, this was where Red Rum galloped to victory 3 times, most famously in 1977, giving hats to come off and a tremendous reception. They'd never heard one like it at Liverpool.